That was how long I had waited for my wife to come home. When my phone rang that morning, I almost dropped it. Ethan. Victoria's voice sounded soft. My heart raced. Victoria? I'm coming home today. I couldn't even speak. She laughed quietly. Are you still there? I've been here for 5 years. I know. I'll be at the airport. I know. The call ended. I stared at my reflection. This is it, I whispered. Everything was finally going to be normal again. I reached the airport an hour early. Every arriving passenger made my heart beat faster. Then I saw her. She looked almost the same confident walk, the same beautiful face. But everything else was different. She held a little boy in her arms. He couldn't have been older than 2. My eyes dropped lower. Her loose coat couldn't hide the obvious curve of her pregnant belly. I stopped breathing. No. She smiled when she saw me. Ethan. I couldn't move. She walked closer. The little boy rested his head on her shoulder. She reached for my hand. I stepped back. Who's the child? She lowered her hand. We need to talk. My question wasn't difficult. She looked around nervously. Not here. My voice shook. Then answer me. The little boy looked at me with wide eyes. Mom. That single word shattered me. People nearby smiled. Your husband came to pick you up? An elderly woman said kindly. Victoria forced a smile. Yes. I felt sick. I looked at the boy again. He called you Mom. She nodded slowly. He did. My throat tightened. And you're pregnant. Yes. I laughed. It didn't sound like laughter. It sounded broken. So 5 years. Ethan. No. She took another step. I can explain. Then explain. I can't hear. Why not? She closed her eyes. Please. The little boy reached toward me. Hi. I stared at him. He smiled. I wanted to smile back. Instead, I turned away. You wrote hundreds of messages. I know. You promised you'd come back. I did. You said you loved me. I still do. I looked at her as if she had become a stranger. Love. My voice rose. Is this what your love looks like? Several people turned toward us. Victoria whispered, Please don't do this here. I didn't do anything. She bit her lip. I know how this looks. It looks exactly how it is. No. No. It isn't. I shook my head. I waited while everyone told me to move on. She remained silent. I defended you. I know. I believed every excuse. I know. I spent birthdays alone. I'm sorry. I spent anniversaries talking to photographs. Her eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry. I laughed again. Sorry doesn't erase this. The little boy touched her cheek. Mom sat. She kissed his forehead. It's okay. Nothing about this was okay. I picked up my bag. I'm leaving. Ethan, wait. I didn't. I walked through the parking lot without looking back. My phone rang before I reached my car. Grace. I answered immediately. So, she asked. She's back. Finally. I stayed quiet. Ethan. She brought a child. Silence. Then Grace spoke carefully. What do you mean? She has a little boy. Another silence. And she's pregnant. Grace inhaled sharply. No. Yes. I'm coming over. You don't have to. I absolutely do. I drove home without remembering the roads. Every memory felt fake. Every promise felt empty. When I reached the driveway, another car stopped behind mine. Victoria stepped out. She carried the little boy while pulling a suitcase. I frowned. What are you doing? She looked exhausted. I need somewhere to stay. No. Please. I think you've already found somewhere. She flinched. It isn't what you think. Then what is it? I'll tell you. When? She looked directly into my eyes. Tomorrow. I stared at her. Why tomorrow? Because tonight? I just need one night. She tightened her hold on the little boy. Please let me stay in our house, just for one night. My heart told me to slam the door. My memories told me to listen. I stood there, unable to answer. I barely slept. Every sound from the guest room reminded me that Victoria was under my roof again. When I walked into the kitchen, she was already making coffee. She looked at me and smiled weakly. Good morning. I answered, Nothing about this morning is good. Her smile disappeared. I made your favorite coffee. I don't want coffee. She lowered the mug. I know you're angry. You have no idea what I am. Before she could answer, the little boy ran into the kitchen. Mom. My chest tightened. She picked him up. I'm here. He wrapped his arms around her neck. I looked away. She whispered, Noah, say good morning. He smiled at me. Morning. I forced a nod. Morning. The doorbell rang. I opened it. Grace stormed inside. She looked from me to Victoria. So it's true. Victoria spoke softly. Hello, Grace. Don't say my name like we're friends. Please listen. I've listened for 5 years. Grace turned toward me. File for divorce. Victoria's face turned pale. Ethan. Grace cut her off. You disappeared. I had reasons. Then explain them. I can't. Grace laughed bitterly. Convenient. I rubbed my forehead. Grace, enough. She stared at me. Enough? She comes back with a child and another baby on the way. I know, and you're still letting her stay here. I need answers. You already have your answer. Victoria quietly left the kitchen with Noah. Grace sighed. You're hoping this is all a misunderstanding. I am. It isn't. I have to know. She squeezed my shoulder. Just don't let her break you twice. After she left, the house became painfully quiet. I remembered our first year apart. Victoria used to call every night, then every weekend, then once a month. Eventually, our conversations lasted only minutes. I'm busy. I'll call tomorrow. The meeting ran late. I miss you. I'll come home soon. Those words repeated until they meant nothing. My birthdays passed without her. Our anniversaries became lonely dinners for one. Still, I believed her. I always believed her. That afternoon, my phone rang. Michael. Hey, Ethan. I heard she's back. News travels fast. It was Grace. I almost smiled. Of course. How are you holding up? I'm not. Need company? Maybe later. You don't sound angry. I sound tired. There is a difference. I spent 5 years defending her. And now, I don't know what to believe. Michael stayed quiet before speaking. Whatever happens, don't decide while you're hurt. I'll try. You deserve the truth. I know. After ending the call, I walked past the guest room. The door was slightly open. Inside, I noticed several expensive gift boxes, luxury jewelry, designer handbags, a watch worth more than my yearly salary. Beside them sat a leather folder stamped confidential. I frowned. I heard footsteps. Victoria quickly closed the folder. You shouldn't be in here. I wasn't. She hugged the folder tightly. It's work. From Europe? Yes. Still. She hesitated. I have responsibilities. I thought you came home. I did. Then why are you hiding paperwork? I'm not hiding anything. It feels like you are. She looked away. I'll explain later. Everything is always later. Evening arrived. The 4 of us sat around the dining table. Nobody spoke. Noah happily ate his pasta. Victoria barely touched hers. I finally broke the silence. Whose gifts are those? They're business gifts. From who? I can't say. Can't or won't. She looked down. I signed agreements. I pushed my plate away. You're still protecting someone. I'm protecting more than one person. What does that mean? She stayed silent. Noah suddenly smiled. Mom, more juice. The word echoed through the room. Mom. Every remaining piece of hope inside me cracked. I stared at Victoria. She covered her face. I'm sorry. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I never wanted this. Then tell me the truth. I can't. Why? I just can't. Do you even hear yourself? She cried harder. I know how terrible this looks. It doesn't just look terrible. It is. She shook her head desperately. No. Then prove it. I will. When? Soon. I've heard that before. She couldn't answer. I stood and walked toward the window. Outside, a black luxury car slowed near the house before driving away. I watched it disappear. Someone was watching us. For the first time, I realized our nightmare might not have followed Victoria home. Maybe it had brought her back. My car outside my house. Nothing made sense. I called Michael early the next morning. Can you help me? You don't even have to ask. I need to know everything about Victoria's life overseas. I'll bring my laptop. An hour later, we sat in my office. Michael opened several business websites. What company was she running? Hayes Global. He nodded. Let's start there. For nearly 2 hours, we searched through interviews, financial reports, and business magazines. Then Michael stopped typing. I found someone. Who? He turned the screen toward me. Daniel Brooks. Executive Vice President. Business partner. The article showed him standing beside Victoria. They were smiling. My stomach tightened. Michael clicked another article. Another picture. Another smile. Another headline. The power duo changing European finance. I stared silently. This doesn't prove anything, Michael said carefully. I didn't answer. He opened another page. A charity gala. Victoria wore a black evening dress. Daniel stood beside her with his hand resting lightly behind her back. The comments underneath were even worse. Perfect couple. They look amazing together. Relationship goals. I felt sick. Michael closed the page. I'm sorry. Keep searching. He hesitated. You sure? I said keep searching. More interviews appeared. Business conferences. Award ceremonies. Magazine covers. Everywhere Victoria went, Daniel stood beside her. I whispered, she never told me about him. Mike sighed. Maybe he was just a co-worker. Would you hide someone like this from your wife? No, neither would I. I leaned back and closed my eyes. 5 years. 5 years of believing I was her future. Meanwhile, the world already believed she belonged to someone else. Michael placed a hand on my shoulder. What are you going to do? I'm asking her today. Don't lose your temper. I already have. When Michael left, I found Victoria watering flowers in the backyard. She looked peaceful. I wasn't. We need to talk. She looked up. I know. I held my phone toward her. Who's Daniel Brooks? She froze. Her face lost all color. Where did you hear that name? I asked first. She remained silent. I opened another photograph. You two seem very close. She looked at the screen without speaking. I showed another. And another. Still nothing. Finally, I asked, was he with you the whole 5 years? She closed her eyes. Yes. The word hit harder than I expected. You don't even deny it. I can't. Were you together? She looked directly at me. No. Then why does every picture look like this? Because appearances were important. More important than your husband? She whispered. Nothing was more important than you. I laughed bitterly. I don't believe that anymore. She stepped closer. Ethan. I stepped back. Don't. You don't understand. Then help me understand. I can't. You keep saying that. I was trapped. I frowned. Trapped. In ways you cannot imagine. What does that even mean? I can't explain yet. Because you're protecting him? No. Then why? She shook her head. If I tell you too early, everything becomes worse. Worse than this. Her eyes filled with tears. You have no idea. Before I could answer, a black luxury sedan stopped outside the gate. Both of us turned. A tall man stepped out. Perfect suit. Confident smile. Cold eyes. He looked exactly like the man in every photograph. Daniel Brooks. He walked toward us without hesitation. Ethan Carter? I nodded stiffly. He extended his hand. It's good to finally meet you. I ignored it. He lowered his hand without reacting. Then he looked at Victoria. We need to leave. She looked frightened. I'm not going. You don't have a choice. I said no. His smile disappeared. This meeting isn't optional. I stepped between them. She already answered. Daniel looked at me calmly. This is business. It became personal the second you walked onto my property. Victoria grabbed my arm. Ethan, please. I stared at her. You know him that well. She whispered, please don't make this harder. My heart sank. She wasn't asking him to leave. She was asking me to stop. Daniel adjusted his cuffs. The car is waiting. Victoria looked at me with tears in her eyes. I'll come back. I asked quietly, will you? She couldn't answer. She slowly walked toward Daniel. He opened the car door for her. Noah was already sitting inside. She climbed in without looking back. The door closed. The car pulled away. I stood frozen until it disappeared around the corner. For the first time since our marriage began, I truly believed I had already lost my wife long before. I spent the entire night staring at the empty driveway. Victoria returned just before sunrise. She carried Noah in her arms. Neither of us spoke until she placed him gently on the couch. I broke the silence. You need to leave. She lowered her head. I understand. No arguments. I don't have the right. I folded my arms. I can't keep pretending this house is still our home. She nodded slowly. I'll pack. She disappeared into the guest room. I remained in the living room, trying not to listen. Every zipper closing felt like another piece of my marriage ending. A few minutes later, she returned holding a thick envelope. She placed it on the table. Don't open it yet. I frowned. Why? Read it after I'm gone. What's inside? The answers you deserve. Then tell me instead. I can't. You always say that. She looked exhausted. This time, please trust me one last time. I laughed quietly. You've asked for trust after giving me nothing. I know. She looked toward Noah. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did. Yes. She picked up her suitcase. Noah rubbed his sleepy eyes. Mom, I'm here. She kissed his forehead. I'll always be here. I opened the front door. She walked outside. Before reaching the car, she turned back. I really am sorry. Then she left. The house felt strangely silent. I stared at the envelope for several minutes. Finally, I opened it. The first document was a hospital report. The second was a death certificate. My hands began shaking. There were adoption papers, legal approvals, court documents. Then I unfolded a handwritten letter. Ethan, if you're reading this, I have finally run out of excuses. Noah is not Daniel's son. He is my cousin Lily's little boy. She died in a highway accident 2 years ago. His father died beside her. There was nobody left to care for Noah. The government planned to place him into foster care. I couldn't let that happen, so I adopted him. I promised Lily I would protect him. I never told you because everything became complicated. Please don't blame Noah. He has already lost enough. Victoria. I lowered the letter. Noah. I whispered the name. Everything I believed suddenly shifted. He wasn't Daniel's child. He wasn't Victoria's biological son. He was an orphan. I continued reading. More legal documents confirmed every detail. Every signature matched. Every date matched. I leaned back in my chair. I was wrong, but only partly. One question remained. The pregnancy. I searched the envelope again. Nothing explained it. I grabbed my phone. Before I could call Victoria, someone knocked violently. I opened the door. Grace stood outside. What happened? I handed her the letter. She read silently. Her expression changed. Oh, I accused an innocent child. You didn't know. I still don't know everything. She looked through the papers. These seem real. They are. So Daniel isn't Noah's father. No. She looked at me carefully. But what about the baby? I don't know. Before either of us could speak again, my phone rang. An unfamiliar number. I answered. Hello. A frightened voice replied. Is this Ethan Carter? Yes. Please come to Memorial Hospital immediately. My heart stopped. What happened? Victoria collapsed. I didn't ask another question. Grace grabbed her keys. We're going. We rushed to the hospital. Every traffic light felt endless. When we finally arrived, a nurse led us toward the emergency department. A woman wearing a white coat approached me. You must be Ethan. Yes. I'm Dr. Olivia Reed. Is Victoria alive? Yes. I closed my eyes with relief. Can I see her? Not yet. Why? She needs rest. I looked through the small window. Victoria lay unconscious. Machines surrounded her bed. She looked smaller than I remembered. Dr. Reed spoke gently. She's been under enormous emotional stress. What kind of stress? I can't discuss every detail without her permission. I'm her husband. She hesitated. Legally, yes. Please. Dr. Reed sighed. I'll only say this. I waited. Her body has been carrying more than pregnancy. What does that mean? Exhaustion. She paused. Fear. Another pause. And years of pressure. I frowned. From whom? She shook her head. I don't know. You really don't? I only know what her medical records show. Which is? Chronic anxiety. My stomach tightened. Anything else? Dr. Reed looked directly into my eyes. Whoever she's been protecting. She stopped herself. What? She folded her arms. I think she's been paying a terrible price for keeping that secret. I stared through the window again. The envelope had answered one impossible question. Now another one had become even darker. If Noah wasn't the lie, then what terrible truth had nearly destroyed my wife? I waited outside Victoria's hospital room until Dr. Reed finally nodded. You can go in now. I took a slow breath before opening the door. Victoria looked pale. She managed a weak smile. You came. I almost didn't. I know. I pulled a chair beside her bed. We're done hiding. She nodded. Yes. I looked directly into her eyes. One question. I'm listening. Whose baby are you carrying? She closed her eyes. Yours. I laughed bitterly. Please don't lie anymore. I'm not. Victoria. Ethan, it's your baby. I stood. Stop. She reached for my hand. I'll prove it. Ow. Do you remember the fertility clinic? I froze. The memories returned instantly. The doctor's worried expression. The endless tests. The difficult conversation. Victoria whispered. They told us having children naturally might be difficult. I remember. We froze embryos. I slowly sat again. I remember that too. She swallowed hard. After I moved overseas, another doctor found a serious problem. What problem? They believed I might lose my chance to carry a baby forever. My heartbeat quickened. So, I used one of our frozen embryos. Without asking me. Without telling me. Without giving me a choice. I stared at the floor. You decided alone. I did. Why? I was terrified. You should have called me. I wanted to. What stopped you? She wiped away a tear. Everything. I frowned. That's not an answer. I thought I could fix everything before coming home. Fix what? Our marriage. I looked at her in disbelief. You thought hiding a pregnancy would fix us? I wanted to surprise you. A surprise. She nodded weakly. I imagined coming home. She smiled sadly. You'd see the baby. We'd cry. You'd forgive the distance. I interrupted her. You build an entire future without me. I know. I had no voice. I know. I had no choice. I know. Silence filled the room. Finally, I asked, where does Daniel fit into this? Her entire body tensed. He controlled everything. Explain. He became my business partner. I know that. Then he became much more dangerous. I waited. He isolated me. What do you mean? He controlled meetings. My schedule. My travel. My contracts. If I refused him, investors disappeared. I frowned. You were the CEO. Only on paper. What? He held every connection. She looked exhausted. He made sure everyone believed we worked perfectly together. The photographs. Yes. The interviews. Yes. The charity events. Yes. I clenched my fists. Why didn't you quit? He wouldn't let me. Nobody can stop you from resigning. Her eyes filled again. You don't understand him. Then help me. He threatened everything. What everything? My company. My career. My reputation. She hesitated. And Noah. I looked at her sharply. Noah. He knew about the adoption. So, he promised he could make the process disappear. You mean? He said Noah could be taken away. Anger burned inside me. Was he lying? I never knew. So you obeyed him. I protected Noah. And me? I thought I was protecting you too. By pushing me away? By keeping you far from him. I stood and walked toward the window. Nothing felt real anymore. Behind me, Victoria whispered, I never loved Daniel. I didn't answer. I only loved you. Still, I stayed silent. I know I've destroyed your trust. She began crying again. But every decision I made, she struggled to breathe, was made because I thought I could save everyone. I finally turned around. You should have trusted me. I know. We were supposed to face life together. I know. You decided I wasn't strong enough. No. Then why leave me alone? She had no answer. I looked at her swollen stomach. Part of me wanted to believe every word. Part of me wanted to walk away forever. I quietly asked, can you prove the baby is mine? Yes. How? A DNA test. She met my eyes without hesitation. I'll take it today. I searched her face for fear. I found none. Only sadness. Only regret. Only hope. For the first time since she returned, I couldn't tell whether I was looking at the woman who betrayed me, or the woman who had been drowning alone while desperately trying to find her way back to me. The DNA test was scheduled for the following morning. I spent the night wondering whether I was chasing hope or another lie. My phone rang before sunrise. An unfamiliar number flashed across the screen. I answered carefully. Hello. A calm female voice replied. Are you Ethan Carter? Yes. My name is Emma Brooks. The surname caught my attention immediately. Brooks? I'm Daniel's wife. I stood in silence. You have the wrong number. I don't. She sighed softly. I know about Victoria. My heartbeat quickened. What do you want? To tell you the truth. Why now? Because I finally escaped him. I frowned. Where are you? A small cafe near Memorial Hospital. I'll be there. 30 minutes later, I found her sitting alone by the window. She looked tired, older than her years. She stood politely. Thank you for coming. I remained standing. You have 5 minutes. She nodded. That's probably all I need. She slid a folder across the table. Open it. Inside were printed emails, financial reports, bank transfers, meeting schedules. What am I looking at? The life Daniel stole. I looked up. She continued. He destroyed your marriage. And mine. I said nothing. She opened her phone. I want you to hear something. She pressed play. Daniel's voice filled the quiet cafe. Keep Victoria dependent. If she believes I'm her only option, she'll never leave. Another man's voice asked, what about her husband? Daniel laughed. Distance will handle him. Emma stopped the recording. I stared at her. That's real. I recorded it myself. She handed me another document. Daniel created false stories. What stories? He told investors you and Victoria were separating. He told employees she was emotionally unstable. He told reporters they were practically partners in life. My hands tightened around the papers. He planned all this? For years. Why? Control. She pointed at a financial report. Every company decision required his approval. He quietly transferred money through fake consulting contracts. He built power by making Victoria appear incapable without him. I whispered, she wasn't choosing him. Emma shook her head. She was surviving him. I looked down again. Every photograph suddenly meant something different. Every interview, every smile, every public appearance. None of them showed the fear hidden underneath. Emma reached into her bag. There's more. She handed me a flash drive. Emails, audio files, financial records, everything I managed to save. Why give them to me? Because someone has to stop him. I left the cafe without another word. At the hospital, Victoria looked surprised when I entered. You came back. I placed a folder on her bed. I met Emma. Her face turned completely white. Emma, Daniel's wife. She slowly closed her eyes. So, she finally left him. You knew. I hoped she would. I opened one of the emails. Was all this true? She read silently before nodding. Yes. You never depended on Daniel. No. He forced everyone to believe you did. Yes. I held up another document. He stole company money. Yes. And you stayed silent. She whispered, I had to. I stepped closer. No. You chose to. She shook her head desperately. You still don't understand. Then make me understand. She struggled to speak. Finally, she whispered. He threatened Noah. I froze. He said one phone call could reopen the adoption case. I stared at her. He had connections. I didn't know whether he was bluffing. I couldn't risk losing Noah. So every time I begged for answers, she nodded through tears. I stayed silent because I thought protecting him mattered more. I looked toward the window. For weeks, I had blamed her for every broken promise. Now another picture appeared. Not perfect, not innocent, but trapped. I remembered every photograph with Daniel, every forced smile, every unanswered message. Maybe none of it had been freedom. Victoria quietly asked, Do you hate me? I answered honestly, I don't know. She lowered her head. I hate myself enough for both of us. I picked up the folder. My anger was still there. The betrayal still hurt. The pain hadn't disappeared. But for the first time since Victoria returned home, my rage stopped pointing toward the woman I loved. Instead, it found the man who had carefully built every lie, one manipulation at a time, until he nearly destroyed every life around him. I stopped chasing answers. Instead, I started rebuilding myself. The first thing I did was unlock my old architecture office. Dust covered every desk. Rolled blueprints waited exactly where I had left them 5 years earlier. I smiled sadly. I think it's time. I opened every window. By noon, my phone rang. Michael, please tell me you're at the office. I am. He laughed. Finally. I wasted enough years. You did. But you're standing again. I want my life back. You already took the first step. That afternoon, we cleaned together. Michael carried old boxes while I organized drawings. He looked around proudly. This place suits you. It used to. It still does. For the first time in days, I believed him. When I returned home, Noah ran toward me. Ethan, I caught him before he could fall. Hey, buddy. He smiled. Look, he held up a crayon drawing. 3 stick figures. 1 little house. 1 bright yellow sun. Who's this? He pointed. Mom. Then another. Me. Finally, he pointed at the tallest figure. You. I swallowed hard. You drew me. He nodded happily. Family. My heart ached. Victoria watched quietly from the sofa. She looked exhausted. He's been asking when you'd come home. I nodded without answering. Dinner was quieter than before. Finally, I spoke. How are you feeling? She looked surprised. Tired. Dr. Reed said you should rest. I know. Then stop trying to do everything. A tiny smile appeared. Are you worrying about me? I'm worrying about the baby. She accepted the answer. Later that night, she found me sitting on the porch. Can I sit? It's your porch, too. She lowered herself carefully beside me. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. Then she whispered, I miss talking to you. We're talking now. No. She shook her head. We're surviving. I looked toward the quiet street. Maybe that's all we know how to do. She wiped her eyes. I should have trusted you. Yes. I was afraid. I know. I kept believing I could fix everything alone. You couldn't. I know. I looked at her. You hurt me. I know. You made choices without me. I know. I don't know if I can forgive that. She nodded. I don't expect you to. Her honesty surprised me. For once, she wasn't making excuses. She was simply telling the truth. The next morning, Michael visited the office. He placed 2 coffees on my desk. Business looks good. I already have 3 clients. I knew you would. I smiled. It feels strange. What does? Building something again. Michael leaned against the desk. You've spent years rebuilding everyone else. Now rebuild yourself. I don't know where to start. You already started. He looked at me seriously. Forgiveness isn't pretending nothing happened. I know. It doesn't erase pain. No. It just stops pain from controlling tomorrow. His words stayed with me long after he left. That evening, I turned on the television while making dinner. Breaking news filled the screen. International investigators had opened a major fraud case involving Hayes Global. Several executives were under investigation. One face appeared beside the headline. Daniel Brooks. The reporter continued. Authorities suspected financial manipulation, money laundering, and corporate fraud spanning several years. I quietly increased the volume. Victoria entered the room. She saw the television. Her face became pale. It started. You knew this would happen. I hoped it would. The reporter announced more companies had begun cooperating with investigators. Daniel's public image was collapsing. One interview after another disappeared from company websites. Awards were being withdrawn. Business partners were cutting ties. Victoria stared silently at the screen. I finally asked, How do you feel? She took a long breath. Relieved. No happiness? She slowly shook her head. No. Why? Because too many innocent people were hurt before the truth arrived. I looked at Noah coloring on the living room floor. Then I looked at the woman beside me. The past still stood between us. The scars were still fresh. But for the first time in years, we weren't hiding behind silence. We were facing the truth together. And somehow, that felt like the strongest foundation either of us had built in a very long time. The headlines grew bigger every day. Daniel Brooks was everywhere. Not as a respected executive, as the face of a growing scandal. I switched off the television when my phone rang. Mr. Carter? Yes. My name is Detective Ryan Collins. What can I do for you? I'd like to meet regarding Daniel Brooks. I'll be there. An hour later, I sat across from him inside a quiet interview room. He opened a thick file. You've already received evidence from Emma Brooks. Yes. We verified most of it. I leaned forward. So it's real. It is. He opened another folder. We've uncovered financial fraud, corporate blackmail, witness intimidation, illegal transfers. He pushed several photographs toward me. Daniel didn't just manipulate your family. He manipulated entire companies. I looked through the evidence. So many people. Ryan nodded. He built power by making everyone afraid. Can you stop him? We're very close. I left the station feeling lighter than I had in years. The truth no longer depended only on my word. The law was finally catching up with Daniel. When I arrived home, Another visitor waited outside. Richard Hayes, Victoria's father. He stood awkwardly beside his expensive car. "I'd like to talk." I crossed my arms. "You've never wanted that before." "I know." I opened the door anyway. Inside, he remained standing. "I owe you an apology." I said nothing. He continued. "I judged you." "Yes." I believed success mattered more than character. "Yes." I pushed Victoria harder every year. I looked at him carefully. I told her ordinary happiness wasn't enough. His voice cracked. "I thought I was helping." "You weren't." "I know." He lowered his head. When Daniel appeared, I encouraged the partnership. "You trusted him." I admired him. His eyes filled with regret. I delivered my daughter directly into his hands. The room became quiet. He looked at me. "I also treated you like you were never good enough." "You did." "I'm sorry." The words sounded genuine. After a long silence, I answered quietly. "I can't erase the past. I'm not asking you to. I only wanted you to know I finally understand what my pride cost everyone." Before leaving, he stopped beside Victoria. "I'm sorry." She hugged him without speaking. The next morning, every news channel carried the same story. International warrants, frozen accounts, corporate raids. Daniel's empire was collapsing. Reporters replayed old interviews beside new accusations. The contrast was impossible to ignore. That afternoon, Victoria's phone began ringing repeatedly. She glanced at the screen. Her expression hardened. "It's him. Daniel." She nodded. "Don't answer." The phone stopped, then started again. 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 Finally, she answered and placed the call on speaker. Daniel's voice sounded desperate. "Victoria, what do you want?" "I need your help." "No. You don't even know what I'm asking." "I don't care." He took a shaky breath. "Tell investigators those emails are fake." "They aren't." "Please." "No." "You owe me." She laughed sadly. "I owe you nothing. I protected you. You controlled me. I made you successful. You made me afraid." Silence followed. Then he whispered, "If I fall, you'll lose everything." Victoria looked at me before answering. "I already lost everything once. I'm not losing it again. You'll regret this." "No." "I finally regret staying silent." His voice turned cold. "You think he'll forgive you?" She looked directly into my eyes. "I don't know, but I'd rather face the truth than live another day inside your lies." The call ended. She slowly lowered the phone. Her hand was shaking. I gently took it from her. "It's over." She nodded. "I think so." That evening, another breaking news alert appeared. Authorities had officially seized Daniel's remaining companies. Several executives agreed to testify against him. His closest allies disappeared. His investors abandoned him. His reputation vanished almost overnight. I watched the screen quietly. Daniel hadn't fallen because someone invented lies about him. He had fallen because the lies he created finally buried him beneath their own weight. For the first time since Victoria returned home, I didn't feel anger. I only felt the quiet satisfaction of watching truth accomplish what revenge never could. The call came just after midnight. "Ethan." It was Dr. Reed. "Victoria is in labor." "I'm coming." I grabbed my keys without changing clothes. Every traffic light felt too slow. When I reached the hospital, Dr. Reed met me outside the delivery room. "How is she?" "She's fighting." "What does that mean?" "The delivery is complicated." Fear gripped my chest. "Is she going to be okay?" "We're doing everything we can." She squeezed my shoulder. "Stay close." I nodded. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, a nurse opened the door. "She wants you." I rushed inside. Victoria looked exhausted. Sweat covered her face. She reached toward me. "You came." "I told you I would." "I wasn't sure." I held her hand. "I'm here." She smiled weakly. "I'm scared." "So am I." Another contraction hit. She cried out. "I can't do this." "Yes, you can." "Don't leave." "I won't." Dr. Reed stepped closer. "Victoria, one more push." Victoria screamed. She squeezed my hand so tightly I barely felt my fingers. "I can't." "You can. I believe you." She looked into my eyes. "I love you." My voice shook. "I know." Another push. Another cry. Then silence. For one terrifying second, nobody spoke. My heart stopped. Suddenly, a tiny cry filled the room. The sweetest sound I had ever heard. Dr. Reed smiled. Congratulations. You have a daughter. I couldn't breathe. The nurse carefully placed the tiny baby into my arms. She opened her eyes for just a moment. I stared at her tiny fingers, her peaceful face, her quiet breathing. 5 years of pain suddenly felt unbearably heavy. Every lonely birthday, every sleepless night, every unanswered message, every broken promise. I carried all of it inside me. Then my daughter wrapped one tiny hand around my finger. Everything changed. I whispered hello. Tears filled my eyes. Victoria watched quietly. She's beautiful. I nodded. She really is. Dr. Reed finished checking Victoria before smiling. Both of them are safe. Thank you. She left us alone. The room became peaceful. Victoria looked at me carefully. I thought you'd leave. I almost did. I expected to wake up alone. I pulled my chair closer. I'm still here. She cried softly. I don't deserve that. Maybe not. She looked away. I'll spend the rest of my life earning your trust. I answered honestly. It won't happen overnight. I know. It may take years. I know. But we're finally telling each other the truth. She nodded. No more secrets. No more lies. No matter how painful. I promise. A gentle knock interrupted us. The door opened. Grace entered carrying Noah. He looked around excitedly. Baby, Grace laughed. Easy. I knelt beside him while still holding my daughter. Want to meet your little sister? He nodded quickly. Yes. I carefully showed him the baby. He smiled. So tiny. I laughed quietly. Very tiny. He looked at me. Then he asked the question I never expected. Can I hold my sister, Dad? Time stopped. Nobody had told him to say it. Nobody corrected him. He had chosen the word himself. Dad. I felt tears returning. I smiled. You called me Dad. He nodded innocently. You take care of us. My voice almost disappeared. I'll always take care of you. He hugged my leg. I know. Grace quietly wiped away tears. Victoria covered her mouth. She couldn't stop crying. After Noah left with Grace, the room became quiet again. Victoria whispered, Did you hear him? I did. He chose you. I looked at my sleeping daughter, then at the little boy waiting outside, then at the woman lying beside me. Our family wasn't perfect. It never would be. The past could never disappear. Some wounds would always remain. Some memories would always hurt. But revenge had never given me peace. Truth had. Forgiveness hadn't erased my pain. It had simply made room for hope. I reached for Victoria's hand. She held mine tightly. Together we watched our daughter sleep. Together we accepted that our future could only survive if honesty came before pride, trust came before fear, and love was never again forced to compete with silence. 6 months changed everything. The silence inside my house disappeared. Laughter replaced it. Hope replaced fear. One quiet morning, I sat in the backyard holding my daughter while Noah chased butterflies across the grass. Victoria stepped outside, carrying 2 cups of coffee. Peaceful, I smiled. Finally, she handed me a cup. I still wake up expecting everything to disappear. So do I. She sat beside me. But it doesn't. No. She leaned against my shoulder. It finally feels like home. I looked around. For the first time in years, I agreed. Later that afternoon, Michael visited the office. He looked around proudly. You've never been busier. I've never been happier. He laughed. I told you rebuilding yourself would change everything. You were right. I usually am. I shook my head. You'll never let me forget that. Never. We laughed together. Before leaving, he paused. I'm proud of you. Thanks. You chose peace. I almost chose revenge. But you didn't. His words stayed with me long after he left. That evening, the television showed the final court decision. Daniel Brooks had been convicted. Fraud, corporate blackmail, witness intimidation, financial crimes. The judge announced years of imprisonment. I quietly switched off the television. There was nothing left to watch. Justice had finally arrived. Not through anger, not through violence, through truth. A few days later, Richard visited carrying toys for both children. Noah ran toward him. Grandpa, Richard laughed. I think these belong to you. He handed Noah a wooden train. Then he gently kissed my daughter's forehead. Victoria smiled warmly. I've never seen you like this. Richard looked at both children. I wasted enough years chasing success. He turned toward me. Thank you for giving me another chance. I nodded. Don't waste it. I won't. He meant every word. Another surprise arrived the following weekend. Grace knocked on the front door. Victoria opened it nervously. Hi. Grace looked uncomfortable. Can we talk? Victoria nodded. The two of them walked into the kitchen. I stayed outside. Nearly an hour passed. When they finally returned, both women had red eyes. Grace smiled awkwardly. I've decided something. Victoria waited quietly. I'm tired of carrying anger. Victoria whispered, Thank you. Grace hugged her. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy, but it was real. A few weeks later, I received a message from Emma. It was short. Thank you for believing the truth. I'm finally free. I smiled before replying. You deserve peace too. Detective Ryan also called. It's officially over. What is? The investigation. Everyone responsible has been charged. I thanked him. Without his determination, many lies might have survived forever. Dr. Reed visited our home one afternoon for a routine checkup. She examined the baby before smiling. Healthy. Victoria laughed. Best word I've heard all week. Dr. Reed looked at me. You've both come a long way. We have. She packed her bag. Keep choosing honesty. We will. After she left, Victoria stood beside me in the backyard. Noah laughed as he chased Bubbles across the lawn. Our daughter slept peacefully in my arms. Victoria quietly asked, Were you thinking? I smiled. I'm thinking about the airport. She lowered her eyes. I'm sorry. I know. I'll always be sorry. I gently shook my head. The man standing there that day believed love alone could save a marriage. And now I know love without trust cannot survive. She squeezed my hand. And trust. It grows only where truth lives. She rested her head against my shoulder. I'll protect that truth every day. I know. I looked at Noah laughing beneath the afternoon sun. I looked at my daughter sleeping peacefully. I looked at the woman who had found her way home. Our family wasn't built from perfect memories. It was built from broken ones that we finally faced together. I realized the happiest ending was never getting the life I once imagined. It was finding the courage to build a better one after everything had fallen apart. And standing there with the people I loved beside me, I finally understood that I was home at last.